I nominate the following first batch for consideration and approval.
5 new faces have made it onto the first batch of 11 cabinet secretaries nominated Friday.
Just who are they and what qualifications do they have?
She was always the first in the school.
She has the highest integrity.
The moment she gets into that new position, she will obviously do excellently.
Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, Dr. Margaret Nyambura Ndung'u.
My name is Margaret Nyambura Ndung'u, nominee for the Cabinet Minister position, ICT and Digital Innovation. These are my parents, Peter Ndung'u Wainaina and Rosemary Wambui Ndung'u. They are retired teachers, and the third born in a family of 6. We were all very close in terms of even ages. I know my older brother was born in 69, the follower 71, myself 72, so, and even the one who follows me 74. So we really grew up, like all of us, we were young at the same time. And my parents being teachers, I remember I went to primary school just not very far from here. You pass through the forest and you get to the school. And I remember my early years of school. My mom used to teach lower primary. I think with the exposure of my parents being teachers, even me, I thought that is the best career one could have. So I really thought about being a teacher, also being a doctor, because again, being in a rural setup, you only see one doctor where everyone will be queuing over every day. Actually, there will always be a queue at the hospital, or at dispensary actually. But I think that was very short-lived because it only happened on very few occasions. Mainly my focus was more on being a teacher. So I went to Olenguruni Secondary School. It is right in the bush of Molo. And one memorable thing I remember about Olenguruni is when it rains. Because there was no public transport, so we used to use tractors. And yes, and I remember we'll all assemble in Molo town, and there'll be a tractor to take us to school. And you can imagine a tractor, yeah? So you go and you're all pushed with your luggage. And then we used to have a very good headmaster. He's now Mr. Kego. And Mr. Kego used to have a small Suzuki, because the tractor will go at one point to be able to get to the school. And he used to ferry us now from that point to the school. Despite my parents being teachers, I think because we are many of us, we are 6 of us, and subdividing that amount of money for our school fees, for our food and the like, it was never enough. So I always felt like I have to make a change in our household. And that's why at school, I had to work very hard. I used to wake up very early, and it was not allowed to wake up early. You know, there are those very strict rules. So I'll wake up at 4, use my candle, go to the bathroom, and that's where I'll study up to around 6. At 6, we're allowed to go to class. So we go to class. At night, then you'll use a generator. I excelled very well. I was the best in my year, and I joined Moi University to do information science.
She always held the third, at first in Form 1 and 2, she used to hold the third and the second position. In Form 3 is when we started hearing her in the news. She was always the first in the school.
This was in 1990 when she sat for her KCSE during that particular period. She was index 3. She was the top student. In her subject, she scored the highest grade was A-. That was in English and mathematics.
Kwa majina naitwa Kurgat Peter. Tulikuwa tunasoma na Margaret Nyambura Ndung'u in the year 1987 to 1990. Nyambura was a very tough lady and a very simple lady. Hata ilikuwa inaonekana alikuwa ingawaje si ukuwa najua nyumbani kwao alikuwa anatoka ulikuwa unaona anatoka a very humble family. Sio watu ambao walikuwa pengine wanaonekana wako juu. Ni kule alikuwa anaonekana anatoka a very humble family, in that she was very disciplined and she was very tough in her work. Wakati results ilitokezea ilionekana ya kwamba kazi yake ambayo alikuwa anafanya mavuno yake yalitokezea vizuri sana.
Information science was a very competitive course. So most of the students are from Alliance, they are from Kabarak, they are from Kenya High School, you know, the big schools, and there I was from Olenguruni. I remember I used to have a very good teacher who used to tell us, so which school did you come from? So those who didn't come from those big schools, they'll be like another school in Molo. So that's how we survived in campus. And information science, you have three options. You can either do information technology, you can either do archives and record management, you could also do media studies, and you could do publishing and book trade. So you'll find actually most of the journalists, they did information science. How did I get to know about this? I was busy doing my work. I work from home, so I was busy working, and I received this call from the Member of Parliament of Molo to tell me they have my CV, but they want an updated CV. They want me considered for a position. So I updated first and I sent to her, and I forgot about it. Then she calls me again and she told me the governor will be calling you. I'm like, okay. I think it's at that point I called my mom. And I told mom, this is what is happening.
Hapa niaja kutetemuka. Nikamuuliza ni kweli. Nilimuuliza kama ulifanya itakuwa campaign. Kaja hata hakufanya. Nikamuuliza na itakuaje. Akasema mama niambie kama sasa vile nitetemeka, nikamwambia wacha tu nifikirie, lakini kama ukipatiwa kazi fanya kazi kama unaona unafanya, mimi najua utafanya.
I tried to call my dad. For some reason, his phone had a challenge. So I called him. My mom asked me to call the father, our priest. So I called the priest and I told him, and he was like, okay, it's a good thing to serve the nation, so just take it. And at that point, when now the governor called again to tell me the president wants to speak to me, I was like, okay. You see, all through you are thinking this is a big joke, but now when you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, it has happened. And everybody was calling to congratulate me, to ask me, are you the one? Because I'm sure nobody thought I can be the one, basically. Because for the last 20 years, I've been doing ICT and development, looking at how does ICT enables development in agriculture, in education, in health, and specifically I've done a lot of work in health. I did work with AMREF, where we set the first telemedicine project. That was in 2004-05. And with that, because of that work and the passion to see ICT influencing a change, I've had a strong connection with research for development. Then in the last years, I've also worked with the young people, the youth. With my current, probably not current, the previous work with the African Union, my focus was capacity building on internet governance. And for that, for all the African Union member states, 55 of them. And the initial work I did the moment I got that position was to do a survey, a baseline survey, to understand what is the status in terms of capacity digital skills in internet governance. And we realized in all the 55 African Union member states, there are only 30 of them that have continuous training when it comes to internet governance. They call them School of Internet Governance. And we focused on supporting the ones that didn't have. And from that, I've been able to work with the youth. And I can tell you, people are qualified, not just in Kenya, across the continent. People have their degrees, they have their masters, but they're not jobs. And with that, and the cause I've been supporting is trying to link ICT and development. And because my CV had said, during the global IGF that happened in 2022 in Ethiopia, we trained, I was in charge of training the youth that supported the whole IGF. And with that, I saw the passion. Last year, again, when I was part of the organizing team for the global IGF in Japan, And there was sponsorship for some young people. 3,500 young people applied from across the continent, and they were only sponsoring 20 people. So can you imagine? So you can see there's a big gap. So in my CV, I guess they saw the capacity building I've done. They saw also my passion for ICT, for development, in a manner that I have supported the development of our national ICT strategy. 2014-2018, I was the secretary to the task force, and therefore all the flagship projects we put, I was actually involved in talking the various ministries, seeing their priorities and seeing the interlinkages, and then also supporting in terms of implementation, coming up with the implementation plan. And the current National ICT Master Plan, I was also one of the 4 consultants that guided the Ministry of ICT to come out, first of all, to do a baseline survey of what has happened, monitoring and evaluation, and then based on that, planning for the next.
That new position, she will obviously do excellently.
If I get this position, my priority areas will be first to address issues of access and affordability of internet and digital services across the country, both in rural and urban areas. I would also want to focus on gender digital divide, which again is very prominent, and I know we are losing a lot in terms of economic situations. The other thing I would want to focus on is child online safety, that we are all moving digital, but we are forgetting the child that need to be protected. So issues of cybersecurity, data protection, and ethical behavior in the digital space will be my focus.